Thanks to my very wonderful friend Zoe, I have found another villainous manga to be completely obsessed with. I need some merch and it's getting hard to find. Don't appreciate because I love this series and I want it repped in my collection. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited for this manga review. I feel like it's been a hot minute since we actually did a series review. Granted, this series is ongoing, that's why I use quotes, and I'm like thrilled that I'm caught up, but sad that I'm caught up because it has been a wonderful journey and we are going to talk about it today. I'm going to do my ultimate best to not have any spoilers in this video. If I do, of course, I will flag them so you can be forewarned because we don't always like to hear spoilers for series that we're interested in, and that series that I hope I will make you interested in, or you can come gush with me if you've already read it, is Though I Am an Inept Villainess, Tale of the Butterfly Rat Body Swap in the Maiden Court. Oh my goodness, y'all. This is 6 volumes and ongoing. I am reviewing the manga, but 7 Seas does in fact have the light novels. I love this manga so much that I just decided I'm just going to stick with the manga because I feel like it's a really good, I couldn't think of the word for a second, adaptation of the light novels. I do know a few friends who read it and they really love it. I definitely feel that probably the light novel just enhances how good this manga already is, but since I am really enjoying the manga, I just decided to stick with it because, or like just stick with this one only. Oh my gosh, y'all, I finished volume 6 last night and I was so excited. In fact, I feel like I look a little bit rough because I went to bed late because I was just so caught up in reading. But I'm hoping I do this series amazing justice because usually when I do this, I try and read it all like really quickly and just sort of like binge read it and then do a video review. But since February was such a chaotic month when I was reading this, it was sort of spread out and there were week gaps. So at least I'm hoping I do it justice because y'all, if you love villainous manga, this is such a good one to try, though I feel it's really interesting of how the villainous aspect works. But let's talk about what this manga is about in case if you're not familiar with it, because I surprisingly don't see a lot of hype for this series. So I'm really hoping that this video can help contribute to make people interested and be like, oh yeah, that does sound really good, especially if you're really into, let's say, politics when it comes to, say, like inner workings of the palace with consorts and the emperor and all of those things. Like, yes. Going back to what I was trying to say about this manga. So hopefully I say these girls' names right, and hopefully I will not make it confusing at any point since this is a body swap manga. But our main girl right here, her name is Reirin, but technically this isn't actually her body, but our main female girl, that is who she is, Reirin, and she is a maiden in this palace, and she has been very sick and very weak for her entire life. I'm not really sure how old these girls are. We'll just say like between the ages of 16 and 18. But despite that, she is the favored butterfly by the prince, and she's sort of the chosen maiden, because I should say they're all maidens. I don't know if I said consorts, but they're all maidens, and they're sort of like the #1 runner-up, though Reirin here is actually #1 runner-up, to be the future empress, the future wife to the prince who will one day be emperor in this land. The thing is, though, Reirin has an enemy. She has somebody who doesn't like her, and that would be our actual villainess, and her name is Keigetsu. I hope I said her name right as well. This is her body. This is the actual villainess's body, okay? And the thing is, there is this magical comet that is happening, there's stars falling, and they're like, oh, you need to go out and make a wish. So Reirin goes out to the balcony to make a wish. Who should also be there? Yes, our villainess. And she pushes Reirin off the balcony, and everybody is freaking out. They think maybe she's dead, maybe she's gotten really, at least significantly injured. The thing is, when Reirin wakes up, she doesn't actually wake up in her body. She wakes up in Keigetsu's body instead, who has the sewer rat title among all of the maidens and the consort in the palace. Nobody likes her because of all of the horrible, vile things she has been doing, treating people horribly, being very mean, and just being overall generally horrible. And so now she's in this villainous body, and because of she pushed off Reirin, or at least supposedly before the body swap happened, that she actually did, now she is facing execution in the villainess's body. So begins this crazy, very fun, but emotional story of Reirin being in this abled body to do these things she has only probably hoped and longed to do, but didn't have the energy or the healthiness in her body to be able to do so. I don't even know where to start, honestly. There were just so many things I love loved about these characters, about this overall story. It was fantastic. There was like one volume that wasn't my favorite, and that's typically when it focused on other characters who were not part of our main cast. And I do love how the main cast is gradually getting bigger as the series goes on, because they're all really amazing. But every single volume otherwise has been a glowing 5 stars, and I've just felt so invested, so excited. But the first few volumes and the first arc specifically, I never expected to get so emotional when reading. I actually got really triggered. I was trying to see, there's not really any romance in this manga. There's a potential love triangle stirring, but it's not, I would not say this is a romantic story by any means. But I was wondering, like, maybe somebody online has read the light novels and maybe there is a spoiler for who the end game is. I was like, I'm gonna go look it up. I shouldn't have done that because somebody called Reirin a Mary Sue, and I was so triggered because I definitely do not feel like she is. She is one of the most inspiring heroines I've probably ever read. She definitely is in that category of shoujo heroines that I love reading about, where you're like, wow, this girl inspires me so much. I want to be just like her. And Reirin, she is up there in, I would say, at least in the top 3. I mean, right now, she's probably number 1 because I have never read a character to this extent that is as selfless as she is. I mean, your villain, your enemy, basically, has pushed you off the balcony, has made your new life in this new body completely miserable, or what is supposed to be miserable. And Reirin here in this new body is like living her best life. She's thriving. Even when she's facing execution, she's in the dungeons. She is facing, and then she's in a cell facing a very hungry lion who's getting poked with a spear and is supposed to attack her. And yet here she is, calm, level-headed, and not freaking out at any point. And I'm just like, girl, you have basically been framed in this new body and you're not panicking at all at any moment. It's crazy. It is crazy. I will say, you could be thinking, well, like, Laura, why isn't she saying, like, hey, there's a body swap? She's wrongfully being accused of things she didn't do. Well, because of our villainous girl here, Keigetsu, that she has put I don't know what the right word would be, it's not a curse, but basically Reirin can't say anything that happened about the body swap. When she tries to speak, just sounds come out, no words. And she's like, oh. And I do love how Reirin at one point when she's like, maybe I could do, what'd she say, but charades to help explain what happened. And I was like, really? Like, I don't think that's gonna help. I don't think anybody is gonna be able to guess. So that's why she hasn't said anything. It's not from lack of trying. Like, there was a point where she calls the emperor the prince, because she is loosely related to him. Because let's see, she's the niece of the empress, while the prince is the son of the empress. So I'm not really sure what the connection would be there. But she calls him Big Brother. And when she's in this new body, she even calls him Big Brother in hopes like he will have a sign like, oh, you know, something's not right, because Keigetsu would never call the crown prince Big Brother. And he's just livid and wants to have her wiped out even faster. So obviously that's not working in her favor at all. So when she survives this execution, she is basically exiled in her clan, because there's a variety of different clans here. No, I'm not going to get into that because that was the only part I ever got confused. Shout out though to whoever made the call to have at the back of every single volume where there is an explanation. If I could find it, I will show you, I promise. Right here, talking about the 5 clans on this page, and then also giving you a layout of the Imperial Court, which was super awesome. I confess I never read this page. I feel really bad saying that, but I was like, I'm just gonna roll with it because politics just confused my brain. Yeah, so if this isn't at the back of every single volume, so if there's any point you ever get confused, it is there. So now that she's in this other clan, because she was part of the Kyo clan, and now Keigetsu here, though, she's part of the Shu clan. So yeah, she's in a different place, been exiled to this house that is run down, filled with mold, and then is told, this is your new home. There's nothing in this home, by the way, okay? And there's just run down grass, wilderness area all around her. Then she's told by who's supposed to be like her lady in waiting, her court lady, I guess you would say, and it's told, yeah, I'm not bringing you any food because this woman, her name is Leelee, her and the previous body owner did not get along. It was not good at all. And you know, Reirin looks at this area, this home in her new body, and she is overjoyed. She's like, this is perfect. Yes, I said, and she said, this is perfect. This rundown, moldy home infested with bugs and who knows what. She loves it. And Leelee comes to check back on her. Reirin is having the time of her life. And that honestly is what is so inspiring about Reirin's character. She has been put in these devastating situations that I feel like I was in. I would just be a hot mess and could not function. And yet Reirin is thriving. And again, living like this is her best life. She's overjoyed. And even when times come up, especially like the second, third volume, where the actual villainess is like, I need help. Because remember, Reirin's body is very, very frail. And she takes all of these medicines basically to sort of more or less survive as pain-free situation as she can. Keigetsu here thought, well, life will be so much better if I could just be in her body, if I could just be her. And yeah, that's not necessarily the case. And she's having this breakdown, and Reirin helps her. She helps her. This woman just tried to take her out, take her life. And Reirin is talking to her with such grace, with such compassion, and even thankfulness to be in this abled body and to be able to do these things of working the fields in front of her house, to be able to pick up these bugs, to be able to eat potatoes. Because Reirin loves potatoes. As my friend Jess says, she is our potato queen. There ain't nobody else who loves a fictional character who loves potatoes more than Reirin, at least I personally read. And so all of these things combined was a really emotional journey, especially when I was reading volume 2, I'm pretty sure it was, and Keigetsu's having this breakdown, and Reirin is just, again, just being so kind and so gracious and compassionate, because Keigetsu's like, this body is nothing like I thought. This body's doing nothing I want it to do, and she's so frustrated. And I was about to start crying because I never expected to relate to the villainous character in this story. At that time, I too was really sick, and I was so frustrated with my own body just not getting, just not being sick and not getting better faster the way that I wanted. And I thought that was such well done storytelling that I really could never bring myself to hate this woman, this young woman who all she wanted was love. In her life, you see, we get some backstory and you see how horrible it has been. That doesn't justify her meanness or her rudeness or the way that she has tried to hurt people or get them injured, but I still can never bring myself to hate her, because for a villainous character that I maybe was supposed to hate, she was far too relatable in her transparency of nobody wants me, though I can't relate to that aspect, but just the whole body thing of being frustrated and thinking, I thought this would be better and it's not. And there was even a time where my heart just completely broke for her, because she's asking Reirin, she's like, because they have a way of communicating through fire, and she's telling her, she's like, Reirin, my life is over. My life is doomed. People know because you're the favored butterfly and I'm the sewer rat, they're going to take me out. And so she's like, just end my life for me. And Reirin is just, she's the ultimate friend that we all need in our life, because she's like, I love you and you could be a little bit dramatic. Let's tone it down. We don't need to do that. And she does. She talks her down. She's like, the first thing you could do is say, I'm sorry. Seeing Keigetsu's transformation, her journey, is something I never expected to be so emotionally invested in, because I love Reirin. She's my favorite character hands down in this series. But for how amazing Reirin is, we really see how broken Keigetsu is. But we see her rise up from that brokenness thanks to Reirin, who takes an investment and interest in her life. And for every negative thing somebody has told her, whether that is the person who's the noble consort who's supposed to be watching over this maiden and helping her, for every negative thing she has said, for her parents have said, people have said in passing, Reirin, it's like she is attacking what they said and just canceling it out, and instead putting love and hope in Keigetsu's life and showing her that she can have a different life. it is one of the most beautiful things I have read recently. Their friendship is just goals, and it is incredible to just see how they interact with one another and how genuinely their friendship comes to be something so special and remarkable. We see in the latest volumes where Keigetsu is trying her hardest, that she's a very prideful young woman, but she humbles herself and admits she was wrong and comes to a point where she is willing to lay her own life down, to take responsibility for her actions of what she has done to Reirin up to this point. Because the reason the body swap even happened was because Keigetsu wanted to steal the position that Reirin had, be in the best of the best, highest of the highest in the court, at least when it comes to like popularity and people liking you, and giving Reirin the lowest of the lowest where nobody wants anything to deal with her. And going back to Reirin, she doesn't let that reputation stop her from just living a life that I'm like, you really show Reirin what it means to love your enemies, what it means to show compassion for those around you, but also to be passionate for justice and not let people get stepped on. Because let's talk about this amazing young woman here. Her name is Leelee, which I did mention earlier, that she is the like court lady that is supposed to serve the original villainess, but now serves Reirin in this new body. I adored their friendship. Leelee is so cute, and I blame Reirin for that, because she's just so prickly. There's so many moments of transformation in this manga, and Leelee's was definitely one of the most iconic, or the one that stands out the most when it comes for side characters, okay? Because Keigetsu definitely steals the show in that regard. But when we first meet Leelee and how she acts with Reirin and how Reirin just almost seems unfazed. She's like, we are going to make you the number, like there's different levels of the court lady and based off of their robes, and she's like, we are going to get you into like the top of the top robes. And Leelee's like, does she even realize what she's saying? Reirin, you know she does. She definitely does know what she's saying. She may not seem like it to others, but yes, I definitely feel she knew exactly what she meant. And she meant what she said. It wasn't an accident by saying that. And in this volume specifically, we really do see how much Reirin has come to care for Leelee. And that was like my #1 concern, honestly, for this first arc, that when they do swap bodies again, I was like, what about Leelee? What about Leelee? I love her. She's just seeing her grow and her really come to, she's still her prickly self, but just seeing their friendship was beautiful in everything. And so, yeah, what I was trying to say is there's definitely an incident where Leelee is more or less being ridiculed because she is the daughter, not of a noble standing due to her birth, we'll say that. Reirin has an issue with this, not with Leelee. She has an issue with people ridiculing her court maiden, and I loved how Reirin, she took action into her own hands. There was a hilarious moment where things are really going in Reirin's favor in this villainous body. She did a really good job in this certain scene, and even the prince here is about to honor her, and she's like, oh, that's great, thank you for the gift, but it continues a conversation that she is having with another maiden to help clear the name of Leelee among these court maidens. And I was like, girl, you go, you're amazing. Leelee sees all of these things and she really treasures them. I mean, who could put up with Reirin's antics in the sense of how much she loves bugs, how she plays with the bugs, and how they're just eating potatoes all day, every day. It was so beautiful. And I can say, as a very minor spoiler, if you start reading or you have read and you were worried, well, what about Leelee and their friendship? That friendship is still there through all the volumes. Don't worry. It's a little bit different, but it's still strong as ever. And I really, really loved it a lot. It just showed, again, so much of Reirin's character and how caring she is and how people around her just cannot deny the impact that Reirin has. It doesn't matter which body she's in. People are noticing there is something different about her. And that honestly continues. Even when the body swap happens, even when things are at stake and it's just like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? What is going to go down? Never for a moment did Reirin waver. She consistently, and it's just being a great friend. There's so many things I want to say because it made me think of this moment where Reirin, she's finding out what Keigetsu wants to do, of how she wants to sacrifice herself. And Reirin's like, no, we both are in this together. You take half, I'll take half. I want to be your friend. And I will say, I don't know if, yeah, you can't really tell, I wore my long sleeve shirt that has stars and moons because there is such a beautiful scene where I can't go too much into it, but we'll just say that Reirin says, "You are my miracle comet." That's what she says to Keigetsu. And I just love that moment and how it changed everything for both of these girls and how it really, with the ending of this arc, because I'm pretty sure it wraps up in the next one, of how transforming it was for both of them, how both of them longed for friendship. They have come from two very different backgrounds, treated so very differently, but yet they come together in this moment, in a moment where people would say it is over for Reirin now that she's in this villainess's body. But yet that wasn't the case. Both of them, well, I can't really say for Keigetsu that she was living her best life, but I can say that the thing that they wanted the most, friendship, they got. The themes of friendship are so impactful. They are so powerful. And I just feel like they are, for me personally, like this is what I look for in shoujo manga. Yes, I'm here for the romance. I love the romance. But when you have such powerful themes of friendship that it overshines everything in the best way possible. And it wasn't even just for them, but also for these ladies too, who are the consorts, but they were much younger, at least in this picture, and how friendship continues to play a huge theme in this story. I mean, there's not a single volume where we don't see how powerful friendship can be, and again, just how life-changing it can be. I will say that after I read this first arc, I thought it was so good. I thought nothing can top this. Nothing can be better than what I am reading in this. But let me tell you, when we got to volumes 5 and 6, which starts off a new arc, this arc has been gold. And I was like, I can't tell you what my favorite arc is, even though that friendship theme continues, which is awesome. Just the arcs themselves and the stakes that are so much higher now in this new arc that I never expected. Like, I don't know, I thought maybe I thought there was gonna be like a one-hit wonder with the first arc or something. I don't know, but I continued to be deeply invested, and I really love how there were already stakes concerning the body swap. They had to act like each other and all of that. But when it comes to this new arc, the stakes are 10 times higher than I ever expected it to be. And I was just like, whew, like this is a lot. And that is part of why I'm sort of sad I'm caught up, in the sense I don't have any more to read when it comes to the manga. Volume 7, I think when I looked last night, comes out in May. And I'm ready for it because it's just, it's such a fun time, but it's filled with all of those emotions and it has some new characters. And I will just say that I never expected concerning these characters who are brothers, I never expected with the things that we find out near the end of the first arc, who they are and what would happen, that I would love them as much as I do in these two volumes, especially volume 6. Like, that was one of my favorite volumes. I laughed so much. Reirin definitely shows that she's like Kyoyo from the eccentric Doctor of the Moonflower Kingdom. She loves muscles, or muscle queens. And I was thriving. But then we meet another man who I do agree with Reirin, really does remind me of Leelee. His name is Unran, and he is such a hurting young man, and I definitely teared up in this volume because though I laughed so much of the first half of it, pretty much, when we start diving more into Aran's life and Reirin is just determined to befriend him, it was just so emotional. I don't want to say too much because I feel like that's a little bit spoiler territory because it's going later into the series, but I will say that there's a moment in here, and there's actually a few other moments where Reirin herself, she may feel like she's an inept villainess, and her trying to mimic Keigetsu and being a villainess is absolutely hilarious because she fails miserably. She's giving it her all and she's so proud of herself, but there are those moments when she's just being herself and she's not trying to mimic her. She is pretty scary. There is a moment in here with her and Aran that I'm like, I don't know who I'm more fearful for, Reirin or Unran, and I sort of feel like it was going more towards Unran than it was Reirin because I'm like, you just flipped a switch, I feel like. And so yeah, that was really intense. When it comes to the romance, I think there is one of them on the back. Yes, the back covers. I'm not going to say much to this. I don't feel like this is a romantic story, but these are sort of the two potential love triangle interests. The captain of the Eagles, who I love, I am shipping him really hard with Reirin, and I will just say in volume 6 that my jaw dropped. I gasped and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe the man just said that. Like, where do we go from here? Then this is the prince, and I I am not a fan of him. I will say I feel like Volume 6 sort of redeemed his character for me a little bit. I wouldn't say I hate his guts or anything like that. It's just, I'm trying to figure out how much to say, y'all. I'm trying to figure out how much to say without going to spoilers. I think it's because he's so deeply in love with Reirin that when the body swap happens, and if you're so deeply in love with somebody, how do you not notice the small signs and the differences of what's happening? I think that's all I can say. And yes, I get that there's a way that Keigetsu was doing a really good job, but it really bothered me and how he acted. It just didn't sit well with me that out of anybody, he's the one person who never noticed. And like, there are obvious signs to the reader alone that she's not acting like herself because, you know, Keigetsu's in her body. But the prince just purposely ignored those signs, I guess. I will say in Volume 6, he learned from, I feel like, mistakes, and it's to be determined if I will actually come to like him. I think he is a good prince, but I don't think he's a good love interest. I just don't. So I feel like that's more of where my thoughts are concerning him. He's not necessarily a bad character, but he's a very bad love interest, and I don't want him to end up with our female girl. And it seems, due to a wager that's made, that she really, really could be, especially since she's the favored butterfly, especially since he's the one that gave her that label. So I don't know. I saw a review actually for Volume 6 where somebody's like, if the prince is endgame, tell me now so I could stop reading. And I would not quit reading if they did become endgame, but I definitely don't feel, I mean, it wouldn't affect my love for the series. I definitely feel that, but I would be really upset about it because I'm like, I'd rather Reirin just be single than end up with him. As she can be with Mr. Captain here, who's pretty funny, and I love how he really can pick up on cues and signs, and it makes him a good love interest concerning the body swap that he knows fairly quickly, in my opinion. Just the thing that happened in Volume 6 though, I was like, I don't know where things are gonna go, but I'm really, really excited, and I'm very much seated for this series. It has been such a joyful and emotional experience that I really feel like just encouraged me in like, man, I want to be thankful for the good health I have, for the abled body I have to do the things that I can. Again, to see an example of, even if it's just fiction, of what it means to really show compassion towards those who are hating your guts and still choosing to have a smile on your face that's genuine and not just because you're faking it to make it. I really feel like you can look at Reirin's life and feel so inspired and encouraged by her story. And that is why, going back to the beginning, I was triggered that people said she's a Mary Sue. And I will mention that if you're like, well, is she upbeat all the time? Like, and I need her to have some kind of struggle. I really feel like Volume 6 is going to really highlight that struggle, because there was a quote that, man, I have not really related to Reirin. That is very much true when I think about it. Much easier to relate to Keigetsu, but there was a moment of genuine raw transparency from her that I feel like has been very different from the first 5 volumes, where she's like pep up and go and really gung-ho, giving it her all. That there was just a moment where she's like, being hated is so terrifying, it's heartbreaking. Being open and vulnerable makes us scared to be hated, and what's more agonizing is having our feelings unrequited. And I feel like that is just so true for me. Like, that really stood out to me. There's honestly quite a few quotes that really hit me that I was like, wow, this feels deep and profound. And that also concerning Reirin's story herself, that's a really large statement for her, because she has said that she doesn't mind being hated, that she thrives in people's feelings because she's experiencing new feelings herself of being angry, being daring, being defiant, and she's doing all these incredible things. And so she's thriving off of these new emotions that she's seen in people that she has cared for, and also experiencing for herself for the first time. Seeing her like this, where she's like, it's hard. And she even says, where when she mentions, I quite delight in people's hatred of me, she's thinking back on that. And then she's like, it wasn't true at all. Yeah, I feel like this is going, Volume 7, I really feel like is going to be a turning point for Reirin specifically. What is she going to do? Because she just seems really down in this moment due to everything that's happening, even though it's sort of funny, because who purposely lets themselves get abducted? I don't know. But because of the things that are happening where she's at though, she has a lot weighing on her. and she's feeling that actual hatred for the first time where she can't undo it. I mean, I guess she could, yes, undo it, but I feel like there's just so much more here than anything else she's experienced before. She has experienced the hatred from other maidens, from other consorts, but that was in the palace. And to be praised for one thing only to have that hatred come against you by numerous people was a lot for her. And so I'm invested in her journey. I've been invested in her journey, but I feel like we have Keigetsu's journey. We've seen her transformation. Now it's Reirin. Now it's time to see her grow because she can't always be happy. She can't always have that pep and go. Even though, girl, I relate to that so much of like, yes, I like to be that same person that we always excited, always upbeat, but that's not realistic. And I think for Reirin going forward, I think that is going to be her moment where she's going to see she can't always be upbeat like she has thus far. So I will stop there, but please know I probably could ramble more a lot, but I feel like it would honestly go into spoilers, but I deeply love this series. Shout out to my friend Zoe for sharing her love about it, putting it on my radar, because I feel like a long time ago I tried volume 1 and I didn't love what I had read at the time, but I was like, just keep going. Now that I know that I actually struggle with politics and sometimes I just have to get over a hump, as I call it for me personally, but that is just a me problem. That's just a me problem. And now that I have read manga that do have politics that I actually do enjoy, I've just learned that now I just have to get over that original hump and then I'm good, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm so glad that I came back to the series, gave it a second chance, thanks to my friend Zoe, because I probably never would have come back and I would have been missing out on such an amazing series that I would highly recommend that does have those politics in the inner palace and the inner workings with all of that, but also the themes of friendship. There's something so powerful about this series with that friendship and how it is shown and expressed in multiple ways, and having such a carefree and upbeat heroine who is going to grow, who's going to change. And if you need a villainous character that undergoes her own transformation and is one that you can't really hate because you know there's some relatability that hits a little too close for home, you know what I mean? But also plenty of art that is really funny and has some emotional moments tied in. Like, there's so many wonderful things about this series that I can't recommend it enough because it was a blast. But I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some maybe recent villainous manga that you've read or you've wanted to check out? Or maybe you're like, Laura, I'm done with the villainous. I prefer this other kind of genre. Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!